welcome you to this Bible study of the Banking Blessings Ministry. My name is Goodluck Ofebo, and this is my wife.
Ofebo, you are welcome.
We welcome you to our continuing study on a series on people, on the relationship between people and their government. A series in which we try to use accounts in the Bible to understand what God intends for the relationship between people and their governments. We have looked at the election of Saul and the inauguration of Saul as the first king of Israel. An important thing happened during the inauguration because Samuel recognized that this was the beginning of a new kind of arrangement in Israel. Prior to this time, God took care of everything directly, sent them people to take care of their needs. But with the appointment of a king, he delegated what we may call the state functions to the king. And Samuel took some time to explain this relationship to the people, that now they have a king, the king is in charge of certain aspects of their life, but they are still under covenant with God, under covenant to worship God. And he explained the principle of separation of state and worship in that speech, in that address to Israel. And we're going to look at the details to understand what he said and how we can, what it means in our daily life, how we can understand it. Honey, do you have something to start?
Yeah, I think this is a very good time in the life of this generation. A lot of changes and issues between government and the people all over the place. And like I said at the beginning, the first or second episode of this topic, this is, if there is a time, it is now that we look at this kind of thing, because I know that if people do understand their God-given roles and expected roles, expected relationship between them and their king or their nation or their government, then a lot of things will go smoother. And I believe that a lot of all the problems that we're seeing now a lot of them would be avoided.
Yeah. Yes.
So, as usual, I'm looking forward to what the Lord has to say today.
Okay, so we'll begin with what we're going to learn. That we are going to look at Samuel's speech. It's a very short speech, but this speech contains an important principle about our relationship with God and our relationship with government. And what he did in this speech is that he formally handed over the state functions to Saul, because up to now, at this particular time, Samuel was the judge and spiritual leader of Israel. He was leader in everything. So since the election of Saul has been completed and they are now inaugurating his government, he used this opportunity to formally hand over the state functions. But he also used the opportunity to remind the people of Israel that their relationship with God is unchanged. They are still under covenant to worship God, and every individual, including the king. The king is not different in this regard. Every individual has a personal, which should seek a personal relationship with God, to worship God directly, and that the government is not an intermediary. Very important. It's not an intermediary between you and God. He worshiped God directly. The king worshipped God directly as an individual, not on behalf of the state. Of course, we will see later on that the king may lead the state in a prayer. It's a different thing. So we have separate relationship with government, a separate relationship with God. He didn't really talk about the relationship with government here because he has spent a lot of time talking about it. He has even written it down and filed away the document, as we saw at the election of Saul. But at this point, he wanted to remind them about their relationship with God. We are going to look at this from 1 Samuel chapter 12 and some passages that we find relevant. Well, Saul had been elected. This is really like a recap of what we did before. Saul had been elected, and we know that he, immediately after he was elected, he had a challenge to lead Israel in a war against the Ammonites, in a battle against Ammonites. He did, and they defeated the Ammonites. And we also know that when he declared for peace and unity, saying that it didn't matter whether you supported him or didn't support him, that he's king for everybody. And he invited everybody to unite under him as their king. Then at this time, Samuel said, okay, it's good we did all this, it's good we had this conversation. Let us now go to Gilgal for the formal inauguration. Of course, they didn't call it inauguration at that time. He said, let us go to Gilgal to renew the kingship. So at Gilgal, well, we'll see what happened there. But first of all, let us read about this, the lead up to the event at Gilgal. From 1 Samuel chapter 11, verses 14 and 15.
First Samuel chapter 11, reading from the New King James Version, verse 14. Then Samuel said to the people, come, let us go to Gilgal and renew the kingdom there. So all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. There they made sacrifices of peace offerings before the Lord, and there Paul and all the men of Israel rejoiced greatly.
Well, so the first thing Samuel did was he handed over state functions to Saul. And, you know, he wanted Saul to formally take over the affairs of Israel and to make sure Israel was aware of that that's what was going to happen from now on. He had been in charge up to this point, and he used this opportunity to tell them also that he had been a good leader for them. And he asked them, hey, if I was corrupt any time, or if I was involved in extortion or bribery, you know, let the people bear witness against him now. And all of them bore witness and said he did nothing wrong. Let us read about that. That's important because that was part of his handover of state functions to Saul. From 1 Samuel chapter 12, verses 1 through 5.
1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 1. Now Samuel said to all Israel, indeed, I have heeded your voice in all that you said to me, and have made a king over you. And now here is the king walking before you, and I am old and gray-headed. And look, my sons are with you. I have walked before you from my childhood to this day. Here I am, witness against me before the Lord and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Or whose donkey have I taken? Or whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? Or from whose hand have I received any bribe with which to blind my eyes? I will restore it to you. Verse 4. And they said, you have not cheated us or oppressed us, nor have you taken anything from any man's hand. Then he said to them, the Lord is witness against you, and his anointed is witness this day, that you have not found anything in my hand. And they answered, he is witness.
Okay, so that was part of the handover. The next part is when Saul reminded them that up to that point in their relationship, that God had been God and government, essentially. He didn't use the word government, but he said God was in charge. God did everything for them directly. He was their God, and he took care of their state functions. He sent them leaders to manage their affairs, and he mentioned some of the leaders. And then that the relationship was simply that they worshipped God, and God took care of everything they needed directly. From now on, that relationship, the relationship with God as he relates to worshiping, does not change. It is still the same. They still worship God, and he takes care of them as God. But the direct state functions have now been handed over to a fellow human being that will be their king. Of course, as we found out, under the authority of God. So they've developed a government that has the authority of God to carry out functions that God has delegated to the government. But the relationship with God is very important to Samuel. And he told them that every person must worship God. And we're going to talk about this a little more. But let us read this aspect of the speech, the first part, where he told them how things have been up to this point. And then we'll read about what the emphasis he made on worship. From 1 Samuel chapter 12, verses 6 to 15, but we are going to read 10 to 15 because it's too long.
Okay, reading from 1 Samuel chapter 12 again, from verse 10. Then they cried out to the Lord and said, we have sinned, because we have forsaken the Lord and served the Baals and Ashtoreths. But now deliver us from the hand of our enemies, and we will serve you. And the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Bedan, Jephthah, and Samuel, and delivered you out of the hand of your enemies on every side, and you dwelt in safety. And when you saw that Nahash, king of the Ammonites, came against you, you said to me, no, but a king shall reign over us, when the Lord your God was your king. Verse 13. Now therefore, here is the king whom you have chosen, and whom you have desired. And take note, the Lord has set a king over you. 14. If you fear the Lord and serve him, and obey his voice, and do not rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then both you and the king who reigns over you will continue following the Lord your God. However, if you do not obey the voice of the Lord, but rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then the hand of the Lord will be against you, and it was as it was against your fathers.
Well, so he's saying the relationship with God has not changed. What he was to their fathers is what he will be to them from that point onwards. They are God. The only difference is the state functions have now been delegated to a government made up of fellow human beings. But every individual is still under covenant to worship God. If you worship and serve him, he will be your God, and he will protect you, and he will do all the things that he does as God. But if you don't worship him or if you don't obey his commandments, then he will turn his back against you. That relationship doesn't change. The point this thing is making to us is that really our relationship with God is an individual thing. Every individual has a special relationship with God, and that relationship does not go through the government as an intermediary. The government does not stand between us and God. Even the leaders of government, God treats them as individuals, just looking at them as people. Of course, when it comes to their functions as leaders of government, they have their own special responsibilities. But as far as relationship with God, as far as worshiping God, every individual is the same before God. The state functions are taken care of by the state. The spiritual life, or what we call worship, is taken care of through our relationship with God. The two do not mix. They are two separate things. There's a government that takes care of state functions. We call them human relationships. What laws people should obey, how to treat people that disobey the law, and all those things, those are state functions. But how do you worship God? What church do you go to if you worship through the church? How many times a week do you pray? How long do you pray when you pray? All those things are all individual things you determine how to do based on your relationship with God. They are not determined by the state, and the state does not pass any law. The state does not have authority to pass any law related to any of these things. Separation of state and worship. This is what Samuel made very clear. Let us read from 1 Samuel chapter 12, verses 24 to 25.
First Samuel chapter 12, verse 24. Only fear the Lord and serve him in truth with all your heart, for consider what great things he has done for you. 25. But if you still do wickedly, you shall be swept away, both you and your king.
Yeah. So you see there that it says how you interact with God and what happens if you worship him or what happens if you fail to worship him. Those are all between you and God. And the king or the prime minister or the president or the mayor, every one of them is an individual before God and has a personal relationship as a human being, personal relationship with God. Then, of course, they are in charge of government, and those deals with human affairs, not spiritual affairs. So, this is a short Bible study.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's a short Bible study, and I've really thought about what we learned. Only I think maybe you need to put in a little more.
As always, the Bible, even if it's just one verse in the Bible, there's nothing in the Bible that God can speak through. A short Bible study or a long one through one word or 3 words, and it's just for us to hear what he has in store for us. And in this case, he has demonstrated to us through what Samuel has done that there is the church and the state should be separated.
Yeah.
The two deal with God.
Yes.
The two have access to God as a church, which is all of us,
Yeah.
as individuals that believe in God and serve him and worship him. We don't depend on the state to tell us, regulate how we relate to our God.
Yes.
We don't depend on the state to force us to align by any kind of faith in God.
Yeah.
Any kind of faith. Okay? So, that is why most governments and most authorities, national authorities and most governments have, make it a point of duty to let the citizens know in their constitution that there is a separation of religion and between religion and the governance.
Yes.
So it is a very important thing. So one might think that it is speaking to those in government or those in governance, but who are they? It is still us.
Yeah.
Because some of us try to propagate the issue that government should do this.
Yeah.
Government should establish places of worship. Government should do that or do that. It's not what the Bible tells us.
Yeah.
It's not because this is the first time Israel is getting a king.
Yes.
That is outside of the priest that God has put over them.
Yeah.
Whom he has used to rule over them or to lead them. But this is the first time they're getting their own king. So using Samuel at this time to define a lot of issues, you can see the process is taking us. The process of selection of a king to tell us that the hand of God is in it, and how the people should behave, their responsibilities, state to the people to the state, and the inauguration. Sometimes somebody like me, sometimes I wonder, why do people always make all the merriment and celebrate when you are inaugurating a new government and stuff like that? But I've seen it in the Bible. There was great rejoicing.
Yes.
When a new king was when Saul was being inaugurated.
Yes.
The people rejoiced greatly.
Yes.
And this one now is telling us, hey, you have direct access to worship to your king. It doesn't have to go through a state.
Yeah, it doesn't go through the government.
It doesn't go through the government.
Doesn't go through the king.
That is one important thing.
Yeah.
Even though that does not mean that it's not God, that the hand of God is not in selecting that king.
Oh.
Samuel told them there.
Yeah. Oh,
it is your king that God has given you.
Yes.
So the hand of God is there, but God has not said that king is the one to lead us to him, or through the king that will worship God.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very important thing that we have learned tonight, and so that for those of us who are fanatical, to say that this state should be I don't know how to put this without trying to make it sound like countries don't lean towards a particular religion by their sheer population of the faith that most of their populations. You can say, oh, there are a lot of Christians in this country, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that state regulates what believers do in that country.
Exactly.
And likewise, should no state tell me not to worship my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Likewise, the government should not tell me not to have a relationship with my God.
Yes.
That is wrong.
Yes.
And it's equally wrong for me to expect the government, even if I'm a fanatic, that it should force everybody to worship God.
Yes.
Even Christ did not force people.
No. It's not by force, it's by covenant.
Yeah.
God gave us a choice, a conditional promise. If you worship and serve me, I will be your God. And what the point Samuel made in this speech is that relationship does not change. All that has changed is that the state functions that God used to perform for them directly has now been handed over to a human organization under the authority of God. So the relationship for individuals, every individual has a covenant to worship God, even members of the government. Every individual is under the government as a human authority that God ordained. And we'll find in a future study, I'm just beginning to learn this, that in fact even the government has a covenant. God has an expectation.
That is what, in fact, that is what I was trying to say next.
Yeah.
That it's a parallel thing.
Yeah.
The people have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
The government itself has a relationship with God.
Yes.
Okay? Now, the people, the fact that the people do not go through the government to worship their God does not mean they cannot cry out to God concerning their government.
No, that's...
The same way the government can cry out to God concerning the people.
Yes, yes.
We've seen,
Yes.
a lot of them, like when the priests, or the priests or the prophets or the judges that God placed over Israel had to cry out to God concerning the people of Israel.
Yeah.
And God heard their cry.
Yes.
And sometimes in the case of Moses, a lot was averted.
Yes.
Even when God said he was going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
So Moses went to God in prayer concerning the people, and God changed his mind.
Yeah.
The same way, when the people of Israel cry out to God and and say, look, we have sinned or we have done this, and God still hears them concerning their government.
Yeah.
So one is not usurped by the other.
Yes.
And it's very important that we understand that.
Yeah. Well, this has been, as we said, it's a short Bible study, but it's a very important one. We'll be going through this series on the king and the people. We'll be taking it a little at a time. We don't want to take up too much in one Bible study session. But what we promise you is that by the time we have taken a big bite, by the time we've gone into it, we would have learned a lot.
I think there's something else that came out from this that, I was also seeing for the first time.
Yeah.
Or seeing the biblical backing.
Yeah.
And that is the issue of accountability when you are handing over.
Yes.
The issue of accountability. Sometimes
Yeah.
in today's, we find out, especially in our developing countries, we find out that when people are about to leave their position in government and become, so another person will take over,
Yeah.
that's when they begin all the squandering and,
Yeah.
looting and,
Yeah.
grabbing and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what God ordained. If you look at the example that Samuel showed us,
Yes. Yes.
he was handing over to Saul. And he purged himself.
Yeah.
It was like giving an account,
Yes.
giving a handover note.
Yes.
So Saul cannot come out and say tomorrow, Samuel took all your lands. Or the people cannot even accuse Samuel.
Yeah.
Or Samuel ruled you people with a high hand.
Yeah.
I did no. Samuel, he purged himself and said, if I have done any of these things,
Come and say it.
say it,
Yeah.
so that I will make amends.
Yeah.
And the people bore witness that he did nothing and he was not an oppressive, he had not oppressed them. So it's very, very, very important that we leave a clean bill when we are leaving. It's not just government. When
We
we're
are making a
leaving
transition.
a position,
Yeah.
when we're making a transition, excuse me,
Yeah.
leaving a place and handing, even in our places of work.
Yeah.
Some people, many people don't have the habit of leaving a handing over note. And even if they do leave a handing over note, they don't make it explicit. What is unwritten is 10 times more than what is written.
Yeah.
That's not the way of God. Samuel purged himself and gave an account of his leadership
Yeah.
before the people, and they absolved him. They absolved him of everything and said they're witness.
Yeah.
So that's something that is very important. And like I said, I'm seeing you know, where the Bible gave us an example of that.
It's a very good example, and I'm happy you pointed that out. It's actually a very important aspect of this, because Samuel, not only that he did his handover note, he also said, this is done, that God is the witness, and the new government, the king, is the witness.
And the people are witness.
And what he was handing over to them is the state function aspect of his responsibility. His responsibility as the spiritual leader was still there. Eventually he died soon after this, but that's it. Anyway, we thank you for joining us in this Bible study. We pray that you will learn something that will make a positive impact on your life and bring you closer to God's purpose for your life. Thank you, and God bless you.
And we want to say thank you to all of you for your comments, for your calls, your comments concerning the topics and the Bible studies we post. We really truly appreciate all that you say, and we take them to heart, and they mean a lot to us. So we want to say continue to connect with us, and the Lord will bless you as you do so. So until next time, have a good